Sure. Anybody have any questions so far? Yes.
How would you go about, say you don't have enough drive or motivation, what are some ways to cultivate a burning desire so that you can overcome your mental barriers or whatever barriers are preventing you from manifesting what you want?
Great question. Well, one of the first, did everybody hear the question?
I don't think they did.
Okay. How do you create that drive? How do you create that inner drive to where you want to do those things and overcoming those limited barriers and belief systems? Yes, is that? Well, first you have to get clear on why do you have the limiting barriers and beliefs in the first place. What is the governor that is stopping you from achieving that? Is there something going on in your background that you've adopted as an internal lie, as an internal belief system that you were told you shouldn't do, be, or have? You shouldn't have these things. You shouldn't want. You shouldn't have that expectation to go out. Or maybe someone said that you couldn't. You weren't capable of it. Who are you to? Nobody else in our family has done it. Why should you? To identify where those fragmented aspects of self-lie and to heal those. We can teach you how to do that. Any other questions?
If some of those things about your fragmented self are subconscious, how do you go about recognizing or acknowledging them there?
Okay, so let me repeat that make sure everybody heard. So, actually, say it one more time. Can you do a little louder?
So if some of the parts of yourself you're talking about are in your subconscious or you're not aware of them, how do you go about, I know meditation is other forms, but in your method, is there a way to find out what those are?
Absolutely. Results speak volumes. In fact, our technique, the Ezekiel method, is all about results. But it's in first recognizing the results that you've already manifested in your world. So you're already the creator of your environment. You're already the creator of your world. So what have you created in your world that you like? And what have you created in your world that you don't like? In identifying the things that you don't like are within the weeds and the seeds, the mental blocks, beliefs that you have. And in identifying those, then we can start to uncover what the seeds, the emotional core is, and why they're still there, why you keep repeating it. Is that making sense? Any more questions? Yes?
It's not a question, it's actually more of a comment. When I have prayed, doesn't pray intentionally and gratefully, usually I ask for most benevolent outcome, which does not always come out as to what I want, but then I have to realize that may just be what I'm needing at that time.
Oh, I absolutely
To get
love that.
something maybe later down the line.
Absolutely, and I love that. And you know, the interesting thing about that is we're linear beings. We see things pretty much tunnel vision, although we're multidimensional beings at the same time. So the thing about being on this physical reality is we're limited as to how we see the multifaceted aspects of how things happen in our lives. So the things that we see happening in our lives now that we don't like might be a stepping stone to something greater in the future that we don't necessarily see now. So sometimes we have to eat our spinach before we can get healthy. Right? Sometimes we have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do in the short run in order to reap the long-term benefits. It's an identifying within those prayers and the outcomes that we get, the things that we see in our world that we don't like, where we uncover, okay, why don't I like that? What's really behind that? Healing that aspect and then transcending beyond it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because everything that you've been given is a tool. It's been given as a tool for your growth, for your transformation, for your... Look, we're here in the physical reality for one thing and one thing only, and that in the end, it's to learn to love everything. You say, wow, learn to love everything? Not possible. Well, yes, you can, but we take you on a journey, and it's a very personal, individual journey for each one of us as to how we love the different aspects of the things that we see, not only within us, but the things that we see mirrored from without. See, anything that we have judgment on the outside world is something that we're going to have judgment on the inside world. Anything that we see on the outside that we don't like is a lost and fragmented aspect that we've disconnected from ourselves. If anybody ever says anything to you and it hurt your feelings, it upset you, it's because somewhere deep inside, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, it rang a kernel of truth and it bothered you because you didn't want somebody else to see that aspect of you, and you didn't even want to see that aspect of you in some cases. You disconnected and denied from it, and that's why it's showing up as hurt feelings. Because if you were like, if someone said to you, "You're a jerk," and you go, "Yes, I am," yeah, they would hold no power.
Right.
But if someone said, "You're a jerk," and you go, "No, I'm not, that hurt my feelings, how dare you?" Right? It's because you've been found out on some level and you didn't want to be found out. But if you own it, say, "Yes, I can be a jerk in the appropriate time and space when I need to be, but I can be very loving when I need to be. I can be very compassionate when I need to be. I can be a thief when I want to be. If I want to run up and steal a kiss from my wife, I can do that." Right? It's how you use the tools to help further your spiritual advancement here in the physical reality, to get the most out of life, to get the juice out of life. See, so many people say, so many emotions are bad, they're not valid, hide them, stuff them away, drug them away, do whatever it takes to get rid of them. You don't want to have these emotions. Be happy all the time. Happy, happy, happy. All the time. Happy, happy, happy. You'll crash. We're not designed biologically, physiologically, to experience happiness all the time. Do I want you to be happy? Absolutely. Do I want you to experience joy? Absolutely. But don't be afraid of the other emotional tools when you use them in the proper span and space to move you in a positive direction that's going to give you the outcome that you're looking for. Be respectful to yourself as well as other people, absolutely, but honor yourself. Honor who you are. Honor the aspects of self that will move you in the directions to manifest those miracles. Because when you shut aspects of you down and you deny aspects, how do you expect to get things to come in? If you label and judge things, and by the way, do I want you to label and judge things? Absolutely. Do I want you to have opinions? Absolutely, because that's the way we're wired. That's part of our internal mechanisms of defense, of adaptation, of being able to discern what's good for us and what's not good for us. When we live in a culture that says you can't judge, you can't have an opinion, you can't do this and you can't do that because it's not politically correct, that's a bunch of bunk because it shorts you in being able to manifest and move your life in a direction that you need to be. Now, does that mean you can go out there and spread all kind of, vile stuff and piss and vinegar across, whatever and hurt people just because you think now it's no. Obviously, we live by a moral compass. But you're entitled to have opinions. Am I making sense? Mm-hmm. And own your opinions. Don't shrink from them. Don't be afraid of them. If you feel a certain way, it's because you feel a certain way. Guess what? If you feel a way, you don't owe anybody any explanations or apologies for the way you feel. Can I get a round of applause for that?
Yeah.
What you do with those tools is you use them for your spiritual advancement to know what. See, there's like an internal GPS. They're meant to guide you. Do I go here? Do I go there? If I don't like something, why don't I like something? If I'm afraid of something, why am I afraid of something? What are the emotions really telling me? It's not just enough that you have them, it's how do you use them? How do I use them to manifest? How do I use them to be the light and bright individual that I'm designed to be? Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We were talking about sometimes things happen repeatedly in our lives.
Yes.
Why does that happen? And I know you mentioned that we should learn transcended.
Yes.
Can you elaborate when you say transcended, like how do we transcend it? I didn't get that part.
Perfect. Okay. Did everybody hear that? Yes. Okay. So the question basically was when mentioned that things repeat in your life. Can I talk a little bit more about why things repeat in your life and what is meant by transcending it? How do you actually transcend it? Did I get the gist of the question right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You know, things repeat in your life because they're designed to show you what you haven't loved yet. They're designed to show you what in your world you have rejected and what you've put off to the side, what you refuse to acknowledge about yourself or others, or when you see something in others, what is it in yourself that you've decided that you have found unlovable and you don't want anybody to see. So the things that repeat in your life are there to keep surfacing until you learn to love it. What is it there to teach you? How is it there to help you grow? Okay, that's the first part. Now, here's a caveat on that. How many of you experienced the metaphysical 2x4 across the back of the head when you don't get the lesson and it keeps getting stronger and stronger? Okay? We don't want you experiencing that. We want you to get the lesson long before that comes so we can show you how to do that. How do we show you how to do that? Which is part 2 to your question. We do it through a series of steps through the Ezekiel method, which is inspired from the prophet of Ezekiel in the Old Testament. If you look up the book of Ezekiel in the Old Testament, it's a lot of fire and brimstone. We're not teaching a lot of fire and brimstone. But what we are teaching is a method that goes along with the book. So we teach about identifying what your issue is, how to love and find gratitude for it, and then how to transcend and clear it through a meditative process. Now here's the beautiful thing. Once you have owned the fragmented or disconnected aspects of self, now you've created a vacuum. You've got room in your closet, right? So what happens if you clear out your closet or your garage and you don't have intention of what you put back in? You fill it up with more junk. Okay? We teach you a meditative process to connect directly with the Creator and to also manifest and fill up your closet with the things that you do want instead of things that you don't want. Here's the thing. Once you've owned the fragmented aspects of yourself, you can then become clear and intentional about what it is that you do want. There's a big difference. Okay, see, a lot of people teach, oh, if you just visualize, 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 you'll get it. But how many people aren't really clear on what they want in the first place, and they fail to get it? Okay? When you do affirmations, affirmations are powerful. Yes, we all agree they're powerful. Problem is you've got to focus and think about doing affirmations. But what's going on 24/7 in the back of your mind is all the negative self-talk that you've been saying to yourself, or other people have said to you. I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too thin, I'm too fat, I'm too rich, I'm too poor, I'm too educated, I'm not educated enough, I have too much experience, I don't have enough experience, I'm this ethnicity, I'm that ethnicity, I'm this gender, I'm that gender, and it goes on and on and on as to why we limit ourselves. Those are all the different fragmented aspects of ourselves that we need to love and embrace and transcend. When I say transcend, it's very specific because if you had a favorite toy as a child, how many people had a favorite toy? Do you get it out and play with it on a regular basis now as an adult? No. Why? Because you've transcended it. You don't need it anymore. You're on to other toys. Maybe if you like Hot Wheel cars, you play with Hot Wheels. Okay, when you're a kid. Well, now you've got a big car. You've got a sports car, RV, whatever. You've got you graduated. Right? If you played with baby dolls, maybe you graduated to having a family. Okay? See, we graduate to these different levels, but it doesn't mean that we don't honor and enjoy the toys that we had in our past. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're taking our lives and we're transcending, we're graduating to different levels and saying, this is bad and never existed, and I'm going to ignore it. It's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about owning and integrating all those lost and fragmented aspects of self so you become a whole, complete individual. This is a very different way of being.
Thank you.
That answer?
Yes, thank you.
Come higher, booth. I have a book coming out, hopefully by the end of summer. It's Teachings from a Prophet. It will outline the method. We also have classes. It's ezekielcenter.org. If you guys want to come up, grab one of our cards. It's got our website. We'd love to see you. Thank you so much. If you love this, please tell everybody. If you didn't, don't tell anyone.